First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
Bring it to the fair, deep fry it, and we're going to eat it.
We have a deep-fried COVID sandwich this year.
Yeah.
You will get infected
very
immediately.
Yes.
And they line
It's
up
actually
around
a
the
form
block.
of vaccine.
And a little bit of the Delta variant dipping sauce. You're just going to... You're going to love
From
it.
Delta Sonic exclusively.
Going to love it.
I have to leave.
Good
Why, you want to get in line too?
Listen, it's Friday. It's Friday morning. And in studio right now is the County Executive, Anthony Picente. Well, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
This has been a crazy week. And I guess I knew that this Cuomo thing was out there, but I didn't know it was this bad. And the Letitia James report was, I don't know what word to describe it, but other than just creepy.
I think that's been the common theme. I think
taking the finger and outlining the shirt thing was odd.
What's just telling and really points to all things guilty, I guess, is that even though some of these women, the dots are connected in some way.
Yeah.
Some of them they're not. Yet the phrasing or the questioning, the accusation are all of the same pattern. Which really.
If you take the time to
outlines
read, if you take the time to read through it, and Andrew's read some stuff on the air, some of you're right. They all kind of.
I've got to about half of it. I read a little
Yeah.
bit each day. It's a long report.
Well, and some of the and again, I'm not saying this for any other reason than one of the accusers was a woman who was a doctor who was giving him his COVID test on live TV or before, and comments made to her, or the New York State trooper that was assigned to a detail at his home. These
Right.
these aren't like some all staff members who may have had an issue at one point.
Some of the comments, though, and to be fair, some of the things are like, all right, they're piling on, and we're some of them are a bit of a reach. There are a few in there that I'm like, well, he could have been completely innocent in this, and like when he kissed the person on the forehead, right? It's like,
Sure,
that's odd. It's odd, but I don't know that it's something would normally get. But you combine all of it together, and that's where it starts to look really creepy.
yeah, it does. I mean, and using different, whether you're an Italian American,
Right,
that's what
right.
we do. That's not
Yeah.
what we do.
Right.
I mean.
You mean you don't put your finger on a woman's shirt and outline the logo of the shirt?
Those things,
because that's one of the things described.
The affection is one thing, but there are ways of obviously, and everybody said this, of demonstrating that. But in this business, but in every business, I mean, and it's not that this is new. This is this is what you shouldn't be doing any
Right.
time, whether it's 2021, whether it's 1990, whether it's 1960, 70, 80, whatever.
I had and I'll throw this at you because certainly somebody else will. And I had somebody say to me about now all the people that supported Cuomo over the years, like Tony Picente, who at one point endorsed him, now he's got to explain himself. And I found myself defending you on that because it's kind of ridiculous. The statement's ridiculous.
Yeah, because he knew there was sexual
But I think
harassment
to be fair, I would rather just throw it out to you and let you answer that.
Sure, I did support him. I supported him, in his second term or the second run.
Right.
I guess was 2014, and I supported him, from the vantage point of we were getting a lot done in my community. We were strong. I felt partners in terms of the United Nation deal, in terms of arbitration that we worked on with local governments. I was president of NYSAC at the time. We worked on pension reform. We worked on Quad C at the time that was built during that period of time. We were working on putting money into what became, later it was AMS, which fell apart at that one point, but then CRE, there was money there.
Yeah.
The hospital money was on the horizon, and which nobody knew about at the time. That happened in 2015. So all of those things were about, what was I supposed to say? This guy was not fit,
And you worried about, there's always been this story of vindictiveness where you worry if all of a sudden you start trashing the guy, Is it going to hurt us down the road when it comes to money?
But I've also been a vocal voice against some of his actions over the last years, and I did not support him in the second, in the third term, and the second. And I will say, and I know that Senator Griffo, I heard him the other day, and you talked the other day about his first term. His first term, he was totally a different governor.
He was a
different governor, different man, in my opinion, and I think in most people, his budgets were of a conservative nature. He cut spending. He did things that, moderates and leaning. Not saying right, but he was
easily could have been a Republican.
And then the SAFE Act and other pieces came into play. But along with that, then something changed. And look, I'll be the first to say I was probably a victim of what I learned about this governor is that he does not have friends.
Yeah.
And he has what I would say he has people who are convenient to him at a particular time, and then when that convenience is no longer a benefit to him, it ends. And that's what happened with me and with several others I know of. But it wasn't. But look, I endorsed him because my community was moving forward. I was doing things with him that we were in partnership of and getting things done, and I felt that was the right thing at the time. And then you can point to it. I mean, it was a political risk, but I took it because for the community and in terms of what was I going to say at that point. So, but then going forward. And
again, you obviously speak for yourself, but if I remember correctly at that time, was it Molinaro who was running?
No, it was Estorino.
Estorino was coming out saying
he was
against the project.
He was slamming a lot of things.
Yes. Right, and it included the money that was being invested here in this community. Why would you endorse the guy who's like, I'm going to stop investing money in your community?
Well, and Rob, I also felt that Rob had come here on a couple occasions, and he was a sitting county executive at the time, which we had I thought we had a friendship, but at the same time, you don't go in and criticize other people's projects. Now, if it was the governor alone, fine, but it was a project that we were investing in this administration, in my administration, and that wasn't the catch-all, but it certainly had something to do with it. You're absolutely right. It was like, okay, so I'm working with someone who's pumping millions of dollars into my community for various projects that I support and want to see happen. The auditorium, I forgot about that. That was the biggest one.
Right.
I went to him and on two occasions during that time period, the initial money for the auditorium, working with Senator Griffo and then Assemblyman Brindisi, we got the first $8 million to get that, to get that off the ground in 2013, and then got another, chunk of change in the 2015 budget to do the suites and to complete the renovation of the Aud. So there was $20 million that came towards that project. I mean, those were the things that we were doing. So in that regard, it was a governmental and it was a community decision. So do I regret it? I mean, look, it did harm some political pieces of my career, but at the same time, I've run 3 times since then, and and I think we're doing a pretty good job.
The reality is, by the time it was all said and done, there was over $1 billion being the arterial project.
More than $1 billion. Almost $2 billion when you really add up and when you combine the other investments of the businesses themselves. That you're looking at $2 billion and easily.
And you for whatever the reason, I remember arguing with somebody about this, saying that I think he wants to do what his father didn't do. I think there's a lot of that, but beyond that, I think in order to become a presidential candidate, he needed to fix upstate.
Sure.
Because upstate was in a lot of trouble. So for whatever the reason, who cares what the reason is? We're going to reap the benefits. So let's take advantage of it.
Sure.
But somewhere along the line, things changed, and I think you saw it. You didn't see it. The area you saw it most, and it was most visible, I think, was during COVID, how he just would not communicate with anyone.
Well, no, and that changed, and like I said, that changed a lot in the second term. The second term after, and certainly after some of his people went down and seriously.
The ZD guys.
Serious issues of their indictments and later convictions. That it became, became really isolated and changed the whole demeanor. I mean, and not just about me here. I mean, with other county executives around the state. I mean, a snowflake didn't fall, and my staff could tell you he's calling himself. Rain, flooding, whatever.
Yeah.
COVID comes, nobody hears from him.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody gets a call. I mean, and not even an individual call. I'm talking. It wasn't that. It was about the coordination, and you're seeing now, especially now in the last few days, with this, I think this vacuum that's starting to be created is really evident in why it's important for him to resign, because you could still lead the state without having all those executive orders, and what he's done in the last couple of days, or what took place yesterday with the schools is a clear indication of nobody's in charge right now.
Even every release we get now from the normally it says Governor Cuomo said, now it's the governor's office.
That came from the other thing on the schools thing. Came from Zucker.
Correct. Yeah,
there was never anything directly from Zucker,
from the governor,
other than directives internally.
Yeah,
but I've been dealing with this for 17 months. There's been nothing directly.
Right.
We didn't even talk to Zucker. There was another one that we couldn't even get to. So I think you're seeing, and when everybody talks about he has to resign, and we talked about that one. And everybody's been saying it, and we've been saying it since day one. It is because of things like this. I mean, now you're still
it's compounding now.
Yeah, and that's why he's never going to say he was guilty.
I say he's going to say
never
he's
going to admit to
innocent.
this.
I'm innocent. I need to prove my innocence.
But
therefore I'm going to step away.
Yeah, and here's the thing: if this is truly the governor that that says how much he loves New York State, then that's his reason for stepping aside.
It should be,
and healing this. And I know, like I said, I heard Joe the other day, and we've talked. About this. I mean, this is the third time we're going through this.
Yeah. How?
I mean, this is how many more times are we going to see this happen on the state?
I have Donna here saying the difference is that they're all men, and now there will be a woman in office, and maybe we'll see something different.
That's what I was going to ask, whether it be by impeachment or resignation. I think ultimately we're going to see a Governor Kathy Hochul, and I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, look, I've been in her company several times in terms of projects that we've worked on. She's been leading the REDC, for the last 5 or 6 years. It's because she ran as lieutenant governor in 14 with him when Bob Duffy had stepped aside. She's capable. She clearly, the thing I like about the lieutenant governor, I mean, is she's an upstater.
Yeah,
which that's a unique piece.
Yep,
right.
She was a local official, which, that's another unique piece. I think it's really important. And we've been saying this for years. And that was why, look, I served with under Governor Pataki, and he was a local official. He understood those things. We're often put in places with governors who don't understand local governments, and I think that's important. I'm not saying it's a complete prerequisite for this, but it helps, especially when you're dealing with upstate New York. So, and she's very capable. She's on top of her. She's very quick study and has been engaged in projects. And
by the way, her coming out against the governor,
very strong.
That
and
is
not just coming out blazing. I mean,
which she's never said an ill word about this governor in public.
Right. She's she's not a smart politician as well as a smart a smart official, and served in Congress as well.
Given where we are today with the announcement yesterday on schools, obviously this is probably going to be a decision made by the county, how schools prepare for this upcoming school year. We got like a month left to go.
Well, there's a couple things. So, I went through this last year, as you recall, too. And we went through a time in which, we were saying when's state ed and when's state health going to get together? Because, again, remember, everything was in their hands, and they were telling us at that time, don't do anything until you hear from us. And even though we were meeting and trying to do, and we were ahead of the game and so many different things, working with our schools and systems. The difficulty here goes back to not just on the county health department aspect of it, and we're ready, and we're going to meet with I'm going to meet with the school superintendents next week and really talk this through. But remember, when we talk about local governments too, schools in themselves are local governments. I mean, they're governed and independent in a great regard. So that's a balancing act that we have to work now, especially since the state has kind of taken a walk on it. My concern is that while we're local governments, some type of action of consistency, I was hoping to see from either state ed or state health, because
it gives them a starting point.
Well, right, but we have 16 school districts
right.
in Oneida County, and I went through this over the last year because it was always. I'm not going to mention school districts, but I'll just say, so it's like, the calls into our office was, school A is doing this, but school B is doing that.
Right.
And school C is doing that. Why aren't you changing it? Well, I can't do that. I can't change that, and I can't direct each school district what to do. Yet, if state ed and state health came in and said, here's at least one, here's 5
what
things.
You have to follow.
Here's 5 things you really need to do.
And by the way, they should give that to BOCES.
Well, they do, and that's where the lead is. Right. That's what our meeting is. I'm going to meet with the BOCES superintendent next week, and then we're going to meet with the other superintendents. But we do need, and these are things that we've been through this 17 months. We keep talking about that, so we know it's either one thing or the other. It's either masks or not masks. So
right.
how do we?
Right.
So the schools need to start planning on both and saying, you always got to have Plan A, Plan B, and kind of, it's the the sports strategy of, okay, if they throw us a curve, we got to go in this direction or whatever.
And it's not like they weren't already at the end of last school year. They were already going down that road.
Right, they were. So they should. So I'm hopeful that we can come to at least some areas of consistency, so that we're not in the and I understand parents' concerns, because if and then it becomes one district does it one way, another district does it another, and then if numbers increase in one and not the other, then we've got another issue. So we've got certainly as always got our work cut out for us, but this my point again goes back to, this is the void of leadership at the state level too that is not helpul in a situation,
especially when they're
like
telling
this.
them the guidance is coming. Wait, it's coming.
Right, and just to be clear, it's like what people say. Just so anybody out there will say, "Well, you didn't want the governor; you wanted local control." Yes, I do, but there are state ed, because the state education department rules the regulations on that.
Yeah.
State health department rules the other piece. So if we all can't come together on that, so it's not about me passing the buck back. I'll take it.
Yeah.
You're the regulating agencies. Give us some guidance on what you want and what you think needs to be done too, and then we'll work to enforce that. But I think we have to work together and try to figure that out.
To start the school year, do you anticipate Oneida County schools would be there would be a mask requirement in place, and would it be full class, half class, like we saw last year?
Remote.
Well, if you read Dr. Zucker's statement, he's saying that they should make plans to be in person. So that's number one. So that kind of outlines that piece. Then follow the CDC guidance, which talks about masks. But it also talks about vaccinations. What else can we do to vaccinate more? Let's go back to the real crux of this. We need more people vaccinated, whether it's teachers, whether it's school aides, whether it's the children that are 12 and up that are eligible to get vaccinated. That will all determine and reduce the spread of what can happen in the schools. So we have a month to do that. We're setting up some pods this week. We had some this week. We're doing some in the weeks ahead, trying to target that 4-week period to get more people vaccinated in those systems and in the community. So parents are vaccinated. If parents are vaccinated, it saves their younger children and everything else. So we have to look at all of these things. But we're only a few weeks away from opening.
Yeah, that's coming very soon. And there's so much misinformation out there. Did you know that more people that are vaccinated are getting the virus than people who aren't vaccinated? Did you know that? That's not true.
That's not true.
It's not even. It's not even. It's not
Wait,
even.
that doesn't sound right.
It's so untrue. It's almost laughable. The number is like 1.5% of people who are vaccinated are getting the virus right now versus everybody else. But that's the stuff that's going around Facebook right now.
I said this yesterday to the other media, one of the other media outlets, TV, when I talked. I said, I look at the data every day. I mean, we pour over it every day, and have been for 17 months, and it's clear. I mean, it's people that are unvaccinated. Are there breakthrough cases? Yes,
but the number's small. The numbers under 2%.
The numbers are very small. But the other thing is, on the breakthrough cases, they're not severe.
Right.
They're not. They're in many cases, they're almost negligible in terms of any symptoms whatsoever.
Right.
I mean, so again,
which is great,
it's
by the way.
Well, absolutely. I mean, if that's what's going to happen, then fine. Then the vaccine,
if you want evidence that the vaccine
then
works,
the
it
vaccine
doesn't work.
I mean,
there it is,
so,
right there.
And so and we're we still have people in our workplace, but that are unvaccinated. Now we were requiring tests on 2-week basis. Now we're requiring weekly basis. So there are things, but which also once we started doing that, we're starting
more
to see
vaccines
more
are going to
people
come in.
and get the vaccine.
You don't want
they don't want to go get tests every week. So.
Before we let you go, Nexus Center, anything?
I was going to say a free. I was going to mention rust, corrosion-free rust proofing of the Mohawk Valley. If you want to cover that Nexus skeleton there, so it doesn't rust.
Good idea.
There you go.
There you go. We have the ball is, as they say, is in the Auditorium Authority's court. We had negotiated an agreement. They have in front of them. I'm waiting for them.
So they're moving on that. And then, Jeff, did you want to ask about the dance company? Because you always ask about that.
Oh, yeah. Sure. I don't know. Where
is there
are we
a penalty? Is there a penalty?
There was a penalty.
Okay.
There was a penalty that, I thought.
Can you say what it was? I know, like the restaurants, when that was public. I don't necessarily think you talked about it, but it was made public.
It was
what the
$1,000 fine that would be as we did with others. Look, we understand the stress and the difficulty of this. That kind of like the adjourned in contemplation of dismissal piece that is used in courts. That if everything stays clear, we inspect and they're good, and the fine gets waived at the end of the period.
All right.
And then really quickly, CDC saying Oneida County is a community in substantial risk, but is the vaccination levels here or numbers here is what's preventing you from doing any countywide mask mandate?
Yeah, I think. Look, I've said all along, that's going to be very hard to do, and I think that's going to cause us could cause us more problems, especially with the business community and others. Not about that aspect, but it's putting the genie back in the bottle kind of thing, which gets very difficult in this regard. I think we got to monitor those. Obviously, if they get extremely high, we'll have to take some type of action. I don't know what that is. I'm hopeful that doesn't. It doesn't come to that where our numbers, while they've been jumping, are still lower. We're going to roll out. The Board of Legislators passed on the first phase of Prize Out, the Boost Oneida County program. They'll pass that at the board meeting next week, and we'll start our initiative and incentives to local businesses for people who haven't been vaccinated. They can get a certificate of $100 to go and support one of the local businesses if they get a shot. So we're going to roll that out next week. They can also use that if they want to pay for their Boilermaker, registration and stuff like that. We're going to be working with the Boilermaker on some other things. So we're going to look at everything we can to get more. It's about
get people vaccinated.
It's vaccinations.
Yeah. Although a lot of stores, national stores, chains are already initiating their own mask requests. Not as much of a mandate, but employees at Tops and other grocery stores have to wear masks.
I have to say, for the most part, even since everything was loosened up and the masks ordinances went away or mandates went away, many stores were still doing that. Many of their workers were still doing that. So I give them great credit on that. They understand and look, they're trying to keep their customers and keep the economy,
keep everybody, because there is that element of as this does become more of a problem. The customers on their own, people on their own, are going to become nervous. There's certain elements, even those who've been vaccinated, it's going to make it more. You'll see people regress a bit and say, "I'm not going out as much."
Right.
We could see the economy take a hit.
I see that right now in my own family. I mean, there is all of a sudden, you get that comfort zone, and then that hesitancy comes back.
That's bad.
And I said in the office yesterday, we were talking. I said, this is really a terrible way that we have to live. That we really have to get more people vaccinated. The federal government, the state, everybody's got to really.
We were all unified that we needed a vaccine. Excited about
until it came out. Until it came out.
Right, exactly.
Until it came out.
Yeah.
It was like, we got to get a vaccine. We got to get a vaccine. We got to get a vaccine. Here we are, 8 months into it, and we still, when you consider the numbers, even though we're at 61%, of first doses, 62, somewhere around there, and whatever, but that's still a lot of people not vaccinated.
Yep. Yeah. Enjoy the weekend. We've gone like 6 days without a significant rain. It's shocking.
I know.
And the weekend we'll get a little rain, but it looks nice.
Rain, but
yeah,
it'll be good.
All right. Enjoy the weekend. Thank you.
You too. Stay safe.
Thank you.
County Executive Anthony Picente. Got a break.